Welcome to another adventure tonight in Yes You Can, I Did. Hi, I'm Martha Burich. I have over 35 years in behavior change. And tonight I really want to talk about how do we handle troubling people and troubling times and troubling events. So let me read to you a little bit tonight. And acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. When I am disturbed, it is because I find some person, place, thing, or situation, some fact of my life unacceptable to me, and I can find no serenity until I accept that person, place, thing, or situation as being exactly the way it is supposed to be at this moment. Nothing, absolutely nothing happens in God's world by mistake. Until I could accept my alcoholism, I could not stay sober. Unless I accept life completely on life's terms, I cannot be happy. I need to concentrate not so much on what needs to be changed in the world as on what needs to be changed in me and in my attitudes. Hmm. So, are there things happening in your life that maybe you need to change your attitude? A couple of nights ago, what did I talk about? When we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. Acceptance is the answer to all my. Yes, there are definitely unacceptable things in the world, aren't there? But we need to work on ourselves first. Shakespeare said, "All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players." He forgot to mention that I was the chief critic. I was always able to see the flaw in every person, every situation, and I was always glad to point it out because I knew you wanted perfection, just as I did. AA and acceptance have taught me that there is a bit of good in the worst of us and a bit of bad in the best of us, that we are all children of God and we each have a right to be here. When I complain about me or about you, I am complaining about God's handiwork. I am saying that I know better than God. There's a saying, the world the world is perfect, and so is your desire to change it. And perhaps the best thing of all for me to remember is that my serenity is inversely proportional to my expectations. The higher my expectations of other people, the lower is my serenity. I can watch my serenity level rise when I discard my expectations, but then my rights try to move in, and they too can force my serenity level down. Do you remember that show Seinfeld? And Jerry Stiller played Seinfeld's dad, and he had that saying, "Serenity now." Well, Jerry Stiller and his wife, Ann Mara, were a very, very popular comedy duo, I believe back in the 50s and 60s. And they were both members of AA. And that's where Jerry Stiller came up with that "Serenity Now" from the Serenity prayer that I just read to you. But then my rights try to move in, and they too can force my serenity level down. Well, I have rights. You have to treat me a certain way. I have to discard my rights as well as my expectations by asking myself, how important is it really? Yes, we really do have to think that, don't we? How important is it really? How important is it compared to my serenity, my emotional sobriety? And when I place more value on my serenity than on anything else, I can maintain it at a higher level, at least for the time being. This comes from the AA Big Book, Alcoholics Anonymous Big Book, and it's on page 17 is what I read. It comes from a story called "Acceptance Was the Answer." And yes, acceptance is the answer to all our problems today, all my problems today. It's when I want things to be different than they are that suddenly I get upset and worried and nervous. And when I accept things the way they are, then I can start thinking, okay, if this is how it is, how can I handle it? What can I do so that I can deal with it? What can I do so that it's acceptable to me? What can I do so that I can continue to go on? You know, we go to work and we get so annoyed with people. They do this. I can't work with that guy. I can't. Well, guess what? You do have to work with that guy, don't you? Or that woman. So, what can you do to handle that situation, to deal with that situation, and to get your job done and to be a decent human being? Yeah, which reminds me, last week I at the treatment center, you know, I take a week, I take a meeting to the Alcoholics Anonymous Treatment Center, and to the Drug and Alcohol Treatment Center. On Wednesdays, there's a big AA meeting, and I go. And um, people are just stuck in the past, and stuck in blaming others, and stuck in you fix me. You fix me. They're always looking for something outside themselves to fix their problems. You know, there's something called the Vivitrol shot, and that's something outside themselves. They come into treatment and they're like, well, I don't have to do anything. You give me therapy and tell me what my parents did to me that caused me to be an alcoholic. Well, uh, no, that might be a reason why you started, but it's certainly not the reason why you're still drinking and drugging today. Now, the reason why you're still engaging in those behaviors, it has a whole lot, in fact, has all to do with you and the choices you make and the choices you made and the decisions that you've made in your life and how to deal with things. So acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. So this is another reason why if you're smoking, drinking, overeating, whatever, don't get down on yourself. Come from the solution. What's the solution? The solution is to not smoke. How can I do that? Okay, and I am going to be giving a 1-hour webinar this Thursday, July 20th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, where I'm going to go over all of that: smoking, drinking, overeating, gossiping, the whole thing, all those bad habits. And bring paper and pencil, because I will be giving you specific strategies to get a handle on these behaviors. Stop them completely if you want to. You know, right now I'm going without sugar. I love sugar. Sugar's my thing. Donuts, pastries, pies, candy. But I've given it up for 21 days. Just 21 days. That's all. You know, in order for people to stop drinking, they just stop drinking one day at a time. I just won't drink today. No matter what happens, I will not drink today. And then the next day you say the same thing. I will not drink today. And guess next thing you know, you got years behind you. You have weeks, months, years. And your life is completely different. You know, the amount of time you get back, the serenity, the peace of mind, the thoughts and ideas, uh, the money, just all of those things. You find you have all of that in abundance once you quit your bad habits. Many of them, many of them. So acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. So what is it that you aren't accepting that you can then find a way to handle and deal with? Let's say you don't like where you live. Okay, well, you know what? For the time being, it's where you live, isn't it? Now, acceptance doesn't mean for you to say this is how it's going to be, it's how it's always going to be. No, that's not what we're saying at all. We're saying I'm going to accept it as it is. What I can do about it, I will do. But if I can't do anything about it, I won't. The only thing I can really change is me, right? So if I don't like my job, what can I do? I can start looking for another one. If I don't like where I live, I can start saving my money and looking for another home, another place to live. If I don't like my friends, I can start looking for new friends. And if I don't like what I'm doing every day, not using my time properly, whatever, if my home is a mess, well, I can start cleaning it, right? If I don't like how my animals act, well, I can hire a trainer. I can get some help in getting them to behave better, right? So acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. But I'm the answer. No one else needs to change, just me. And when I change, the world around me changes. And I'm sure you have examples of that. I'm sure you do. If you look, you'll see that, there were some situations where you decided to be the bigger person. Maybe you had a fight with someone, but you put the olive branch out first. You said, I'm sorry, or I didn't mean for that to go that way. And it smoothed things over. It made things better. You took responsibility. And even if you didn't think you were at fault, you apologized anyway to make the relationship better. And in the bottom line, what things really matter in our lives? It's our relationships, our family, our friends, the people that we go to work with every day. Those are the things that we want to establish and build upon. And, things can be replaced. People are only in our lives for a short period, and we need to appreciate them. Some people are, you need to keep them at arm's length. There are family members that, I don't know how to put it, they're scorpions. And it's not your job to change them. It's not your job to make them better. And if they are harming you and doing things, stealing or whatever, you need to stay away, and you need to keep them out of your orbit. And you need to protect yourself. So you need to have some ask yourself some hard questions. Unfortunately, when people get involved with drugs and alcohol, they can become very dangerous, and they rob people of everything. So if you have a family member like that, and they don't see what they're doing to others, they're stuck in the bondage of self. That means they're so stuck on what they want, what they think they need. They think that everyone is supposed to take care of them, give them what they need, and they always think that the ends always justify the means. If they're out of money, well, they don't see anything wrong with stealing from you. They're out of money, they need it. So yes, if you have people like that in your life, you must protect yourself. And so don't try to be the savior, because when people get in those behaviors, no one can save them. I mean, treat them with decency, but don't put yourself at risk. It isn't worth it. It definitely isn't worth it, being around addicts and alcoholics. And you probably can have some stories of your own. Leave some comments when you see this video. Tell us, or direct message me. Let me know. So what's the point? The point is serenity. The point is peace of mind. The point is happiness. The point is loving relationships, happy relationships, good friendships, not not relationships based on problems and crises and trouble and disappointment. And that's another thing, of course, expectations. Expectations are resentments waiting to happen. Expectations ruin results. Let's say you're going to go to Disney World, and you're expecting, oh my God, it's going to be the greatest place in the world, blah, blah, blah. And then maybe it doesn't live up to your expectations. Well, then you're disappointed. So you know what? Go into things just accepting them for what they are and the way they are. And people too. Just accept people for the way they are and what they are and who they are. Don't try to change them unless they ask you to. And even then, tread, tread very lightly. But how often does anyone ask anyone to change them? We are who we are. I'll change myself, thank you. When I was a teacher, the students, whenever they didn't want to do their work, they would always tell me what was wrong with me. You're fat, you're old, you're ugly, you can't teach, you're a lousy teacher. And I would say, well, that may be true, dear, but we still have to get our work done. Or I would say, well, I appreciate your feedback. Why don't you write me a letter and write down exactly how it is that I could better help you, how I could be a better teacher for you, because words are cheap. Words are cheap. And if this is something that's really bothering you, you need to write it down so that we both have a written record of it. And once you write it down, then I'm able to look at it and see if maybe some of these things are something I could do. Because maybe there is something I could do to help you that I'm not doing now. But I need you to take the time to write it down, not just to tell me, but to write it down. Because you need to formulate your thoughts too. What exactly do you need to learn better, to understand better, to know better? What do you need from me? How can I help you? And also, what do you need from yourself? See, there's usually the spot that we forget. What can you do to help me rather than what can I do to help myself? A lot of my students never studied, didn't do the work, and then they would get mad when they had a D or an F. Well, you're supposed to give me the answer. You're supposed to this, you're supposed to that. Uh-huh, that's right. I did give you the answer. When I was writing on the board, when I was telling you to take notes, when I was uh such is life, right? And then you can probably think of times in your own life when you had so many opportunities and you didn't use them. Someone told you what to do, and you thought, I'll do it my way. And your way just wasn't good enough, was it? But you know what? That's all part of growing up and being human. But now you have an opportunity to redo it. Every minute is an opportunity to change and to do things differently. So don't get on yourself for what's not right. Remind yourself, well, you know what? What can I do differently? How can I do this differently? And I do want to remind you again, this Thursday, July 20th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be giving a 1-hour webinar all about how to change those bad habits and what exactly the strategies, the steps and the strategies. And there are steps and strategies. It's all based on behavior modification, how we can modify our own behavior to get the results we want for ourselves. Alrighty, thank you so much for being here tonight. I really appreciate your watching these videos, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.